Well, guys, we're here for day 18. You can see where we're at on the landing page there. Introducing a project for today. And so, first of all, you'll have two quick tasks for today. One really quick is to check your stocks, make sure that you're filling out your progress on those. If you're not sure how to do that, make sure that you check that out from day 13. Okay, I gave you some instructions. Remember, you're going to type something in if you bought new stock. Um, you bought new stock, why? If you didn't buy stock, why not? And then again, remember at the end of the month, okay, September 30th is when the stock market game ends, you'll be writing down what you've learned over the course of it. Okay, so anyway, the assignment we've got today, first of all, is here's the rubric. The rubric doesn't give you too much information. It just kind of gives you what you're going to be graded on. You can reference that. I will have that linked on there. The best way to kind of show you what you're doing is to show you some examples. Okay, so we're going to get right to it. So you're going to be creating a flow chart here of basically some things that most people would think are eventually unrelated, but you're going to have 7 total graphs. Okay, your graphs got to be hand drawn if they're on Google Slides. So what that means is you've got to use the notebook and capture your image and paste it into the Google Slides. You can also, you'll see in a second, you can do a poster board if you're a virtual person, and take a picture of it. That would, you could drop it off too if you wanted to, but that would work also. But again, you're going to have 7 events. Like I said, you'll see the example here in a second. And there's some things you can't use: gasoline, oil, electricity, or income, as far as what's going to shift a graph. Okay. The good news for you is I will check your rough drafts before the due date, which we're going to make next Friday, which is September 11th. And we'll give you a chance to fix some things as long as you get those to me before that date. Okay. So anyway, let's kind of get started and show you what you're doing. So here's an example here from a student that they did. So notice, like I said, you got to have 7 graphs. Okay, 7 images that go along with those graphs, and then you've got some explanations that kind of explain how the graph connects to the next one. All right, so just in case you can't read it, I'm going to read it to you a little bit, read through it so you can understand what's going on. Okay, so he says a tornado destroys a farm of tomatoes. Okay, so you've got to start out with some type of event. It can be a natural disaster, it can be some type of shortage, whatever the case might be. You got to start out with some. He chooses a tornado and talks about tomatoes. Sorry, tornado to tomatoes. Then he says ketchup is going to decrease in supply. Input of tomatoes to ketchup, decrease the supply of ketchup. So people start substituting mayonnaise. Okay, so we're going to increase our demand for mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is unhealthy. There's a lot of calories in it. So people start going to the gym, and they say we're going to buy gym memberships. Okay, so increase in demand for gym memberships. He also says increase in demand for buying protein shakes. Okay, he didn't get a picture of a protein shake, -1. So make sure you get all your pictures. And then he says there are going to be more bodybuilders. And so he says that there's going to be an increased demand for bodybuilding competitions. And at bodybuilding competitions, they use body oil. And he finishes out with there's an increase in demand for body oil. So notice he has a title in here too. He says, how does a tornado increase the demand for body oil? So the title is going to be the last thing that you do, simply because you don't know where your 7th graph is going to take you yet. Okay, so he starts with tornado. He goes through this process. And again, he might have had his rough draft checked 2 or 3 times, conversations with myself, and eventually he ends with body oil. Then you can say, how does a tornado increase the demand for body oil? Okay, let's look at a couple more here. All right, this person has their title being an increase in the bee population changed the demand for penicillin. So they start off, it's a little difficult to see, increase in supply for honey, which they move into an increase in supply of peanut butter and honey sandwiches because honey's cheaper and it's an input to those. People eat all that sugar. We have an increase in demand for doctor's visits. Doctors prick your finger. I think they even mentioned having diabetes. So anyway, doctors prick your finger to check your blood sugar level. So we have an increase in demand for needles, which means we have to have Band-Aids to cover our wounds. Increase in demand for Band-Aids. Decrease in demand for Neosporin, they say, because we're going to be wearing all these Band-Aids. Neosporin, since we're not using it, cleans cuts, clears up infections, and so then people get infected because they're not using Neosporin, and so we increase our demand for penicillin, which cures infections. Okay, so that's the second one there. So this last one I'm going to show you is how does pollution change the demand for laxatives, and I'm going to cover that up at the top there. So first of all, I'll say we got some pollution and it kills some fish. Okay, so we got a decrease in supply of fish. Notice they got their graph labeled, axes and curves, and it's pretty clear how it shifts. Then it says we got a decrease in supply of sushi because obviously fish goes into sushi, which means that we're not eating as much rice because rice goes into sushi, so it's a decrease in demand for rice. Instead, people are eating noodles, so we've got an increase in demand for noodles. Noodles have a lot of carbs. People gain weight, and so they say we have an increase in demand for gastric bypass surgery. This person knew that gastric bypass surgery recipients cannot eat fruit. I'm not sure why, but that's what they say. So I'm assuming that's fact. And so our demand for fruit decreases. Fruit has a lot of fiber, so now our bowels need some help to operate. And so they say since we're not eating fruit, they're going to increase our demand for laxatives. Okay, so it's obviously something you can have some fun with. I think all the connections can make sense. Now, whether or not they're actually real life and what would happen, that's obviously a different discussion. But hopefully, you can have some fun with it. Um, the project is worth 30 points. Okay, I'll go back to that rubric here in a second. I want to show you an example of what a Google slide might look like. Okay, so if you are a Google slide person, you're going to turn it in digitally, which again is completely up to you. The only rule is that you've got to draw the graphs with your stylus. Okay, and the way to do that is down in the bottom right corner of your Chromebooks. I'm not using my Chromebook right now. You have that little pen. Create a note and then capture your region, and then you can cut and paste your graph on there. So that's the only rule that you have if you use Google Slides. So anyway, I started off. I gave myself a title. I didn't finish it. You'll see. But I said, how does the flood of a peanut farm affect? And I'm not to number 7 yet. Okay. So I started off a peanut farm floods causing a decrease in the supply of peanut butter. I didn't draw my graph right. I forgot to draw my supply curve there. All right. So there's my supply curve moved. And so now we know the price of peanut butter is increasing and the quantity is decreasing. Okay, so to substitute peanut butter, since it's expensive, I said that since peanut butter is more expensive, people are going to eat less of it, meaning they will eat more Nutella, which is a substitute good, in my opinion. So we have an increase in demand for Nutella. Okay, so that's two slides that are similar to what yours probably will look like with an image, an explanation, and also a graph. Um, and again, from there, maybe I would say Nutella is made out of hazelnuts, increase in demand for hazelnuts. From there, I'm not sure what else hazelnuts are in, but what is a substitute for a hazelnut? I don't know, whatever, a peanut maybe, but that doesn't make sense because our peanut farm already got flooded. So maybe almonds. I don't know. Whatever you think of, okay, be able to explain it in your explanation when you get to that particular spot. Okay, so those are, like I said, some examples of what your slides might look like if you do them digitally. The assignment is, like I said, out of 30 points, and the rubric will explain that. Basically, you've got 5 different things I look at. Do you have the 7 things of each? So your explanation, do you have 7? Do you have 7 visuals? And do you have 7 graphs? Okay, so you're going to get 18 out of 30 just for following the rules. Now, if you can shift everything correctly, that is where this top part comes into play. All right. And then the creativity part. Did you do something besides just go in one big circle of like saying, okay, I'm going to not eat strawberries, so I'm going to eat blueberries. Blueberries get more expensive, so I'm going to eat peaches. Like we want to get through that or off, kind of the obvious things somewhere. So if you do that, then you'll be good. But again, I can help you with that because I will check your rough drafts. Okay, we can communicate through email. Next week, the plan on Tuesday and Wednesday is to be available all school day through Google Meet, and I will give you some information on that on uh, Tuesday. Okay, and I'll also when I know my official time, I'm making sure that we can do that. So probably for sure Wednesday, hopefully most of the day on Tuesday. Okay, make sure you're caught up on all these things here. Okay, obviously this stuff is a little bit more involved, so make sure that you are doing the things you need to do to stay on pace here. Okay, so that's your information. I hope you have a great 3-day weekend. Um, Again, not a ton to do on Friday, but if you are taking the weekend off and you're not getting a whole bunch of stuff done, make sure that on Tuesday you're ready to hit the ground running. Before the end of the day Friday, try to have all these assignments done for me. Okay, at least the supply and demand assignment 2 and supply and demand assignment number 1. Those Google forms that are you get 2 shots on each. Okay, don't be afraid to email me, and we'll be in touch. Have a great weekend.